5. Blessed are the war makers. The German soul. Quote, Ye have heard how in old times it was said, Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. But I say unto you, Blessed are the valiant, for they shall make the earth their throne. And ye have heard man say, Blessed are the poor in spirit. But I say unto you, Blessed are the great in soul, and the free in spirit, for they shall enter into Valhalla. And ye have heard men say, Blessed are the peacekeepers. But I say unto you, Blessed are the war makers, for they shall be called, if not children of Yahweh, the children of Odin, who is greater than Yahweh. End quote. Thus, out of the Bible of Germanism cometh the German Sermon on the Mount, as interpreted by Friedrich Nietzsche, prophet of the superior soul, by whose apostolic sword millions of people in the past year have been cut down, bleeding to earth. But the world even then was blind. It looked on saber-rattling Prussianism, not as a continuance of the German war soul developed throughout the ages, but simply as a transient period of political history. For had not the Spirit of Christ, in the image of love and brotherhood, walked the earth for 19 centuries, softening men's hearts and tempering men's souls? Could civilized man fall heir to such a spirit and not pay heed? In Germany, great cathedrals housed the cross, but though others did not, German thinkers knew they housed but a great emptiness of soul. For they well knew that the German gods of pagan days were not dead, that they but slept, that even in their slumber they were still charged with a fire instilling the barbaric instincts of those people. Heinrich Heine, in 1834, had this to say of Christ in Germany. Christianity, and this is its fairest merit, subdued to a certain extent the brutal warrior ardor of the Germans, but it could not entirely quench it, and when the cross, that restraining talisman, falls to pieces, then it will break forth into the ferocity of the old combatants, the frantic berserker rage whereof northern poets have said and sung so much. The talisman has become rotten, and the day will come when it will pitifully crumble to dust. The old stone gods will then arise from the forgotten reigns and wipe from their eyes the dust of centuries. And Thor, with his great hammer, will arise again, and he will shatter the Gothic cathedrals. When ye hear the trampling of feet and the clashing of arms, ye neighbors' children, be on your guard. It might fare ill with you. Smile not at the fantasy of one who foresees in the region of reality the same outburst of revolution that has taken place in the region of the intellect. The thought precedes the deed, as the lightning with thunder. German thunder is of true German character. It is not very nimble, but rumbles along somewhat slowly. But come it will, and when ye hear a clashing such as never before has been heard in the world's history, then know that at last the German thunderbolt has fallen. At this commotion the eagles will drop dead from the skies, and the lions in the farthest waste of Africa will bite their tails and creep into their royal lairs. There will be played in Germany a drama compared to which the French Revolution will seem but an innocent idyll. At present everything is quiet, and though here and there some few men create a little stir, do not imagine these are to be real actors in the piece. They are only little curs, clashing one another round the arena, till the appointed hour when the troop of gladiators appear to fight for life and death. And the hour will come. German intellect, German culture, German emotion, industry, economics, politics, in fact, all things German, are each but a tiny rivulet, feeding with its water the mighty rushing stream which is the German war soul. The war soul itself is thus becoming a mighty torrent against which no dike can be built sufficiently high or sufficiently strong to stem its onrush. Our problem, then, is not the course altering or damming up of any of the rivulets, but in contending with and in subsiding that power which they have produced, the power of the German war soul. Let us hold in abeyance for the moment the question of the all too obvious sufferings which the German war soul has inflicted upon the world, and examine it objectively from the standpoint of its justifications as regards world benefits. In short, is the war soul of Germany and its spread of Germanism worth more to civilization than it cost in human life and freedom? Will the world derive more from its perpetuation than from its extinction? The answer requires no guesswork on our part. Once again, Nietzsche, in his role as spiritual Baedeker of Germanism, leaves no vestige of doubt concerning German blessings. Following are random excerpts from his Ecce Homo. Where Germany spreads the corrupt culture. Every great crime against culture committed during the last 400 years lies on the German conscience. The Germans incurred the responsibility for everything that exists today. The sickliness and stupidity that oppresses culture, the neurosis called nationalism, from which Europe suffers. The Germans have robbed Europe itself of meaning and intelligence and have led it into a blind alley. In the history of knowledge, Germans are represented only by doubtful names. They have produced only unconscious swindlers. German intellect is a bad air, a psychological uncleanliness that has now become instinctive. An uncleanliness which in every word and gesture betrays the German. And if a man is not clean, how can he be deep? You can never fathom the German, depths. They have none, and that ends it. The German soul is small and base. There is nothing to add to these words. The myth of German intellect and culture explodes under the hand of their outstanding product. German proclaimed culture is not worth its, or any, cost. However, is there yet some fine points about the Germans that we do not understand? Over a generation ago, the late American historian Charles Francis Adams, disturbed by this very question, undertook to examine it. Suspecting in my own case that I did not think like a German, I have of late confined my readings on this topic almost exclusively to German sources. I have been taking courses on Nietzsche and Treitschke, as also in the German Denkschrift, illuminated by excerpts from the German papers in this country and the official utterances of Chancellor von Bethmann Hollweg. The result has been most disastrous. It has utterly destroyed my capacity for judicial considerations. I can only say that if what I found in those sources is a capacity to think Germanically, I would rather cease thinking at all. It is the absolute negation of everything which in the past tended to the elevation of mankind, and the instilling in place thereof of a system of thorough dishonesty, emphasized by brutal stupidity. There is a low cunning about it too, which is to me in the last degree repulsive. Germanism was born ages ago. Its growth has been proceeding for centuries, and it has now reached an advanced stage of flowering. Hitler is but a bud indicative of what kind of flower, when it comes to full bloom, the world may expect to see. Because she made no efforts thousands of years ago to be civilized as did her neighbors, Germany today is an outsider among all civilized nations. The processes which it has taken other nations thousands of years to absorb cannot be suddenly absorbed by Germany overnight. Consequently, the continued existence of Germany among them become increasingly inimical to the best interest of civilized nations. The deliberate and perverse distortions of what should have been a sane and normal course of development, as in other nations, now gives to Germany and her people a capacity unexcelled by any other peoples on earth for fostering and propagating every indecent or inhuman precept of life. And as she seeks to distribute her own poisonous brew, she has herself become so intoxicated by its ingredients that she can no longer escape the ever constant desire, the urgent compulsion, and the burning lust which it incites in her to extinguish any and all signs of good which she sees developed as practiced in other lands. Thus, in self-justification, Germany would excuse her own unnatural and perverse life by polluting others with her malignant infection. Germany is now well beyond all saving. The world had best look to its own preservation and welfare, lest some of those German poisons run through her system also and come to destroy it. With each succeeding world war which she plans, plots, and starts, Germany comes ever closer and closer to her goal of world domination. At the present time, Hitler, who has merely striven to remedy mistakes which previous German leaders made in attempts at world subjugation, may bring the German people very close to realizing their goal, and Hitler is not the last of the Führers. How much misery, suffering, death, and destruction are needed before it becomes apparent to the world that any compromise with Germanism will, of itself, be a certain guarantee that soon thereafter Germany must again embark upon her unholy crusade to dominate it. How many more chances will be vouchsafed it to beat back Germany? Suppose there comes a time when Germany cannot be halted. Dare we risk waiting? One never knows the exact hour one is scheduled to die. Can we, with any more certitude and assurance, tell which opportunity shall be our last? It may well be that this is our last chance. Suppose we pass it by. Look ahead. Next time, the so called elder generation of Germany will be the Hitler trained youth of today, and this elder generation, now mothers and fathers, will already have instilled and encouraged their children with the idea of world domination. Thus, the next Fuhrer may already come to lead a nation of born fanatics. As a consequence of this, there may come to be welded a machine so gigantic in proportion, so overwhelming in destructive power, that it may well overcome every possible obstacle in its path. For assuredly, the German youth of the next generation, today schooled in Führer schools, will find a leader, as past generations of German youth have always found a leader, to incarnate and personify the body and soul of that nation and dominate its collective will. A leader who will feed that German body and soul the only food upon which it can subsist: war.